All right, Michael, we'll go ahead and kick this off. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Before I dive in, I'd like to talk quickly about a few housekeeping items. Today's session will be recorded and it will be sent out to our members as a member benefit, and it will also be posted on our YouTube page. We will also send a follow-up with key takeaways, so be on the lookout for that in your email if you happen to miss this webinar. My name is Ben Knorr. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for the TRA on behalf of the Green Restaurant Association and the Texas Restaurant Association. We're excited to have you here for a casual fireside chat focused on what matters most to restaurant operators, running a more profitable business. Today's conversation is about how sustainability, when approached the right way, can directly impact your bottom line. We'll talk about how restaurants are using energy, water, and waste efficiency to lower utility bills, attract more customers, recruit and retain staff, stay ahead of legislation, and gain positive media exposure. The discussion is especially timely as Texas prepares to be a host destination for the summer's global soccer events. I think we all know what that is coming up this summer. With increased traffic and visibility comes higher expectations, and restaurants have a real opportunity to stand out while operating more efficiently. We'll also explore the Texas Certified Green Restaurant Program and how it helps Texas restaurants position themselves for increased demand and visibility this summer and beyond. I'm beyond excited to introduce to you our speaker today, Michael Oshman, the founder and CEO of the Green Restaurant Association. Michael has spent decades working with restaurants across the country and globe to turn sustainability into a competitive advantage, helping operators cut costs, improve operations, and thrive in an increasingly demanding marketplace. We'll save time at the end for Q&A, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll get to those appropriately. And with that, Michael, let's dive right in. Are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
All right. Michael, tell me, what is a certified green restaurant?
So certified green restaurant is a restaurant that's gone through a series of environmental steps that could be anywhere from saving energy, saving water, waste reduction. It could be something in food. It could be something in chemicals. So we have 7 environmental categories. And our approach, and I think this is part of what made this partnership between the TRA and the GRA not only feasible, but has made it successful thus far, is we offer a menu of anything that can be done in a restaurant. There's about 400 steps a restaurant can do, does not need to do, can do. So think about it as a restaurant. Some of you out there have a very long menu. So think about an old school diner with pages of things on there. You're not ordering everything. You're picking some of this, some of that, some of that. So you look at energy, and we're going to advise the restaurants, what are the energy steps that have very small investment, very quick return on investment, don't bother the employees, actually make them happier and save money for the restaurants. We're doing that in water, energy, waste, chemicals, and all of that. So once a restaurant's built up a certain amount of steps that work for them, then, and we help them do it, and we could talk about that a little bit later of how we do. But once they built up enough steps, they earn enough green points to become a certified green restaurant. And a certified green restaurant is a restaurant that has met the Green Restaurant Association's standards. There's 4 different levels. So some of those restaurants, we've greened Super Bowls, we've greened the Congress. You know, pick a credit card in your wallet. You don't actually have to go open your wallet, but there's a good chance 50 to 80% of the credit cards in your wallet, their corporate cafeterias are certified green restaurants. Figure out what school you went to, whether it's in Texas or Boston or California, wherever it is. It's a good chance that that school, the restaurant's all over campus. We're in 50 plus airports. So you've passed by certified green restaurants. These are restaurants that have made solid environmental changes. They've been measured against these standards. We've helped them do it. And consumers, whether it's in Texas, California, or Wyoming, wherever it is, there's a percentage of consumers. And in 2026, whether it's a red state, a purple state, or a blue state, wherever we are in the spectrum, there is a large amount of consumers that want to do the right thing, not the politicized questions. I'm talking, ask the average person, do you want to save energy in your house? Do you want to save water in your house? Do you want safer cleaning chemicals around your kids? And the answer is yes. And they also want that in the restaurants and businesses that they have. So the certified green restaurant makes it easy And we'll talk about the consumers and employees in a moment. It makes it easy for consumers to identify these restaurants, patronize them. And there's a lot of data showing that there's billions of dollars in our economy that are steering themselves towards certified green restaurants and other options, such as the most valued car company in the world, Tesla. There's a lot of data that shows this is not just some cute thing. There's real money that chases things like this.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for setting the stage for today's webinar. There are two key words or key phrases that you mentioned there. One was investment and one was save money. And that leads me to my next question. How does becoming a certified green restaurant impact the bottom line?
Okay, it's a good question. I'm going to share some slides here. Are you able to see that there?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to share with you a few different options of what saves money in this day and age. We're not asking our restaurants, is solar fantastic? Absolutely. I've had solar, bought it, 5 years later, paid it off. And the next 20 years of its life, you get free electricity. Who doesn't want that? What restaurant doesn't want that? But not every restaurant has the roof space for it. And not every restaurant owns their own building. So all those are options. The steps I'm about to go through are very practical. They're not high investment steps like solar. They're lighting. Lighting, 13% of lighting of electric bills go towards lighting. So you use the most efficient lighting. Depending upon what you're already using, you could save up to 10% in just your electric bill, just in one step. That could be done in a few days. Put design in there, maybe a week or so. So very, very easy step that we call kind of our no-brainers. These are steps that like even somebody who doesn't care about this issue at all should just do it for their bottom line to be responsible financially. Spray valves and aerators. You know, most restaurants have spray valves to clean the dishes, aerators to wash hands. There's way more water that comes out of the faucet than most people need to clean their hands in the bathroom. And so there's different aerators that modify it. You get the wrong one and you put it in the wrong place, you will get complaints and you will take them off a month later. You get the right ones, your bills can go down dramatically because every molecule of water saved is not only money on your water bill, but it's less heat that's heating that water. So there's a double bonus there. And for those who pay sewage fees, it's less water going down the drain. So it could be a triple benefit. So when you see all of these things, we help the restaurants identify, don't do aerators there. If you have a sink that's filling up water and it's going to defrost something, or you're filling up water to make pasta, don't put an aerator there. You have to use X amount of water. So have it be as fast as possible. But if it's in the bathroom or your employees are washing their hands, put it there and put the proper one, which doesn't restrict too much or too little. And that's part of what we help. But when it's done right, $1,000 to $3,000 a year, it could be saved for larger restaurants. Just this one step that costs like $2, $3. It's nothing, could save thousands of dollars. Here's one that I love. And as Ben mentioned, I've been doing this for 35 years, and this is one that many restaurants are now doing, but not everyone. And if your restaurant isn't doing this, I highly recommend taking a look at it, which is water upon request. Some restaurants still put water for everybody, which is nice. It's nice service, but it's nice for the 1 or 2 people out of the party of 4 who actually want the water. You know, if somebody's getting a Coke or a beer or a seltzer or whatever they're getting, an orange juice, they might not drink the water. And in that case, not only was that water wasted, the money that for that water was wasted, the money for the labor to carry that there and back. And believe it or not, over the course of the year, that adds up. There's some real data on this, which ends up being $3,500 to $11,000 could be saved. Add all the money it costs to now wash that cup that wasn't really needed, all that energy to heat the water, all the chemicals, all the labor to clean it, add all that up, And it's just such an easy thing. And the truth is, it's actually better customer service because everybody got water, got it. Everybody who didn't want it, it's not sitting there on the table. They're not feeling bad about wasting it. Even if it's only 10% of your customers who feel bad about it, you're making those 10% of customers feel better. So it's a win-win for everybody. That's Water West. And look at those numbers, 3,500 to 11,000. During
It's
the
impressive.
pandemic, yeah. That's why I love these, because they're just very basic. During the pandemic, we all know that everybody had to go home. And if you wanted food from the restaurant, it was either takeout or delivery. So we had a lot of our restaurants that shifted a lot of their business in that direction. And in that time, there was just a lot of analysis we did, other organizations did. And some good data came out, good research that shows that simply changing your process, whether it's through an app, your own website, phone ordering, or at your restaurant, by having customers be able to opt for or not for forks, knives, spoons, napkins, salt, pepper, mustard, whatever it is. And it sounds silly. It's just how expensive could those things be? But they are. And by just doing opting in, meaning if it's on a website or an app, you have to click and say, I want these. The default is, not there. Make it really clear, because some people need it and want it. You don't want to upset them. But by giving them a very clear option, making it easy, over $5,000 can be saved. And there's no loss there. So that's a fantastic one. And that's just more a human system / software shift.
Michael, can I give you an example on that? That
Yeah,
happened to me
please.
just last night. So my wife and I, we ordered takeout, and it was delivered, and we did not ask for utensils, nor were we asked if we wanted utensils. But there's two of us, and they gave us three cutlery bags that we did not need, because we can use our own utensils at home. So that's just one example from someone that happened to last night. So
There you go. So you didn't benefit at all. In fact, you now have to take out the garbage a little bit quicker. If you
yeah,
eat a lot, you're going to have a bunch of that, and there's no value to it. And it's definitely a win-win-win. And this one is also similar. Believe it or not, in many instances where you have restaurants who have disposables in-house, right? Back in the day, 40 or 50 years ago, you're eating in the restaurant. Most restaurants have reusables. They still do, but there's many restaurants that might not. And shifting to a reusable system, even when you include labor, even when you include the chemicals in the water and all of that, when you reduce the need for all those disposables, you reduce the garbage output and the garbage bills, all by getting rid of disposables or reducing it greatly, they actually can save money. And that is a fantastic win, both for not needing to fill up the city with more garbage, but also saving money for the restaurant. Recycling and composting can also save money. It really depends. This one, all the stuff I've said before is generally not dependent upon whether you're in Dallas, Houston, or Tallahassee or New York, but recycling and composting is. So take this one, I don't want to say with a grain of salt, but this one would need more analysis depending upon which city in Texas you're in and what the recycling market is. But many restaurants across the country can save on recycling and composting. Why? Because it's the same bin you need out there. It's just a recycling bin instead of a garbage. Instead of getting 7 pickups a week on garbage, you're now down to 3. And those other few are recycling pickups on the other bin. And the waste company is now taking your glass, aluminum, plastic, cardboard, and they're selling it. So the economics are quite simple because it's not a burden. Garbage is a burden. They have to pay to dump it. The recycling and sometimes composting can be gold. They get the money. It's therefore less expensive. Sell the labor, the truck, and everybody pick it up, but it can be less expensive. And with that, when done right, it could save. We have restaurants. This is an actual restaurant, $2,000 to $8,000 in savings. It's a chain of about 13, and this is what they found that they're able to save there. But it has to be done right, because you have to then titrate your garbage down. You can't just add recycling and composting. You have to slowly add recycling and composting, see that your garbage is less filled, and start reducing those pickups. So it has to be done in a smart way. And if it is done in a smart way, you can reap those benefits. We're going to go over a few more cost savings ones, and then we'll go on to some other topics. Reducing food waste. I mean, probably everybody here knows how much food is wasted in a restaurant and in homes. It's incredible how much good food goes. So we have a bunch of steps from figuring out how to divert it to people in the community through food banks, et cetera, to if it's no longer edible, it's half a sandwich eaten on a plate, can't donate that. So that then gets composted, et cetera. So there's ways to divert, but there's also ways to not produce that waste in the first place, dealing with spoilage, et cetera. And for every dollar restaurants invest in programs to reduce kitchen food waste, on average, they save $7 in operating costs. So that's just takes a little bit of thought, takes a little bit of systems, but just like anything good, with that little bit of investment, not so much in money, but a little bit of expertise, some good money could be saved. This one I'm going to go through quickly. This just goes through some different appliances, but just from a commercial water heater, we could save $1,000 annually, one that's more efficient. For a multi-tank conveyor dishwasher, $1,500. For an electric steamer, $1,200 if we choose the right ones. And even with an Energy Star, you guys, some of you might know, Energy Star is great. And it's real. It saves, could save 30 to 40%. But just like anything, there's the best Energy Star, and there's the one that barely squeaks by. And so sometimes knowing, oh, you know what, I'm going to invest an extra $150 in this piece of equipment and get the one that's 60% more efficient rather than 30, and I want to make my money back in 3 months and save a bunch of money every year. So this one, restaurant could save over $1,000 just for an exhaust hood. And Ben, we talked about, some real numbers from a restaurant. We always need to be careful of the privacy of our restaurants and what they want us to share, but this was public information, so we're able to share it. This restaurant, El Tovar Dining Room, which is a 4-star certified green restaurant, it's our highest level, they save over $12,000 in energy and water bills annually. So not every restaurant does that. More conservative figures could be a couple thousand, a few thousand. And for some restaurants, it's higher than this, but this is real numbers, a real restaurant. So that's the information on the cost savings. Great opportunity. There's other steps that could be done, but this gives enough of a practical ones that could really save money. Like I said, solar saves a huge amount of money, but it's not something most restaurants could do. So we really wanted to highlight pretty much every restaurant could do the steps I just mentioned.
Yeah, thank you for the insight there, Michael. And for our listeners, whenever Michael and I were preparing for this webinar, we really wanted to illustrate dollar savings, and hence why we're going to halt on this slide for a little bit before we dive into the next question. And my apologies, Michael, I meant to ask you this question at the beginning, but going back to your experience, and you've been doing this for 35 years, I think it'd be beneficial for our attendees to hear from you. What scares a restaurant? What are some concerns that they may see in making this leap to become a green certified restaurant?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And as I mentioned, I started this in 1990, where the words green and business didn't go together. We're in a different world now. Thankfully, some of the most valuable businesses in the world, whether it's Apple or Microsoft or NVIDIA or Tesla, have major sustainability components. Google, Apple, those are some of the biggest purchasers of sustainable energy, and they cut major bills down. So why do I share that? Because the only way we still exist 35 years later, the only reason we're in 50 states and territories in Canada and we've doubled in the past few years, is not because we are fantastic at convincing people, Ben, as to how important it is to have clean air and clean water.
Right.
Talk about that. If you care about that, we'll have a nice conversation, but that's not what we talk about. What we talk about is the pain points. the
Hmm.
restaurant has. So what are the pain points that restaurants have? And maybe people can, if I miss any, people could put their pain points in a chat. But what are restaurants, what are they concerned about? If they're not doing this, what's keeping them? And what's keeping them is a few things. One is the perception, Ben, that it costs more.
Right.
And I said perception a few times, and the reason is because it's not the reality, it's the perception. Now, can it cost more? Yes, it can. It can cost more. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
if you were to do a bunch of things with your taxes, Ben, and you didn't really know what you were doing, would you call an accountant or would you try to do this complicated tax deduction that you've never done before? You might be concerned. And so if you
Yeah.
want to save those few $1,000s for at least 1 year, you might hire an accountant to make sure it's good. And then the years after, you know what you're doing.
You're right.
So too, you can do this wrong too. And we've seen it. We've seen restaurants that come to us and say, "Oh, we got this packaging. Isn't it fantastic? And we got this takeout container, and we did that and this green chemical." And we say, "Oh, wow, yeah, they put in some really good effort, but they got the wrong takeout. They didn't really get a green product. They got a product they thought was good. But in practicality, in their situation, it wasn't helpful environmentally, and they were paying more. So they lost financially. There was no benefit to cleaner air and cleaner water. So
Yep.
people's fear, this is not what I do. I run a restaurant. I'm a chef.
Yeah.
These are my expertise. I love people. I don't know post-consumer waste. I don't know pre-consumer waste, Michael. I don't want to know about this green certification on chemicals and this and that. Don't tell me that I need to figure out about recycling and composting and like, I don't have time for that. I'm just lucky if my employees are showing up doing a good job. I don't have the bandwidth. So people have the fear it's going to cost more. If
Hmm.
it's done right, and that's part of what we do as a nonprofit, is we work with the restaurants and we say, we'd love for you to do all 400, but don't.
Yeah.
Now, do the things now that are easy and save you the most amount of money and that your employees like. And then once you are seeing those dollar savings, once your employees are jazzed about it, then let's make a few more steps.
Yep.
And then maybe in a year, we'll make some steps that don't save money, that are cost neutral. But now the owners trust the process, the employees trust the process. So what we do is we are very concerned with making sure it works well. We are not in it to get restaurants to make changes for a month and go back. We're in it to say 20 years from now, this restaurant's been a certified restaurant for 20 years, and we have some that have been on board for decades.
Yeah.
And so it's the long, short way. And so what we do is we make sure that this is going to work within the system. So what's the fear? Fear is it's going to cost more. When done right, as I mentioned, it can save money. And so that's part of what we do. The other fear is, as I mentioned, I don't know what I'm doing. It's not my expertise. And so it's also part of what we address is we say, look, you want to become an expert, or you have a 24-year-old manager of the restaurant and she's jazzed about this, and you want her to do education programs with the staff and all that, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
One for her. We'll do one for the leadership. We'll do one for all the waiters and waitresses. We'll do whatever you want on the education side, if that is what she wants. But for a lot of restaurants, it's like, no, I'm not interested in becoming an expert. I just want to do it. Just come in, and I don't want to know how the plumbing works in my house. Just please fix the leak. That's all I need. And that's most businesses. And for them, we are interfacing with the Ciscos, with the waste managements, so that they don't have to become an expert to know what to order, and they don't have to become an expert to do it right. We are literally saying, next time you talk with Bob on your Tuesday meeting with Cisco, have him bring a sample product number XYZ from Torque. Get some samples, get some pricing. If it looks good and the pricing is good, purchase that one, because that one is much better environmentally. And that's a nice switch over. Same thing with the spray valve. So we are holding the restaurant's hands. They don't have to remember anything. All they have to do, we bring them 95% of the way there. And once that sample's there, we even interface with their Cisco if they want. We'll interface with their waste management. We had a McDonald's that was having challenges with recycling. And they've been a certified restaurant for a while. And we got in there with their vendor, helped fix the problem. This is McDonald's. McDonald's like spends more on facial tissues than our entire, budget. And they could have figured it out, but she's a franchisee. She's busy, and we use our expertise to figure it out. And she was pleased because of that. So those are some of the fears. Some restaurants fear, what are my consumers going to feel about this? And even though you'll see in a moment, even in Texas, even in any red state, there's a variation. But nationally, about 79% of consumers prefer dining at certified green restaurants. When you have something, because if you look at organic food actually crosses the political spectrum. When you look at electric vehicles, it now crosses the political spectrum. Saving money in energy, water, and waste crosses the political spectrum. So there is the concern. It's not a huge concern, but some restaurants, like some of our consumers, don't care about it. Great. You're not making any political statements. You're not talking about climate change or this and that. You're talking about we save water.
Yeah.
And that's not controversial. We saved energy. Energy is a good thing. Who wants more? Do you want more trucks in your neighborhood belching out diesel? Nobody does. From left or right, nobody does. So because our organizations did a very good job of keeping away from politics, keeping away from other issues, it's energy, it's water, it's waste. You'll look at our website, no grand political statements. So restaurants are concerned about, how do I deal with my customers that don't care about it? No big deal. If it's communicated properly, it's not going to bother them. For the consumers that do, whether it's 79% in your area, depending upon where you are in Texas, or it's 59 or 40 or 89, it's a big win there. And the opposite problem we have sometimes is, what if I'm not green enough to communicate anything? And the way we address that is, don't worry. You're not communicating it. We are. And we'll talk about in a moment of how we do. We're the nonprofit. We're the certifying agency. We have the standards. We've verified that you've made those 30 steps. So your marketing people don't have to be concerned about that, because we're communicating it. And the only way we could do it with integrity is we know you're purchasing that napkin, because we have a confidentiality agreement between our organizations. And we've seen the purchasing records that you're now purchasing that napkin and that spray valve, et cetera. So those are some of the concerns. Another concern is it's going to take a long time and a lot of effort. And we also take that off. So that's been our recipe for success, is we take off those pain points, we put it on us. And thankfully, it's not painful for us, because we do have the expertise. We do have time. This is what we do. We work with the vendors. And so we're able to address those pain points. And that is one of the reasons why, Joe, who initiated this partnership, but also any of our businesses, they'll say something very similar, which is everything I'm saying actually really does happen. They feel that organization is taking care of their bottom line. And so those fears generally go away.
Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. So far we've talked about cost savings, concerns, and this leads me to my next question. And I think you alluded to it during the last answer, but what are some of the easiest and most common steps that restaurants can take here?
Yeah. So let's see. Are you able to see this?
Let's see, it hasn't moved yet. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, you see that? Okay, so here's 10 easy ones. And some of them we already mentioned, but some of them are new. Spray valves. This is something everybody should do. Do this tomorrow. Whether you work with us or not, we'd love to work with you. We'd love to, have a deeper conversation at some point. But even if you never contact us, do this. Your accountant is going to love it. And at LED bulbs, as I mentioned, that opt-in policy for disposables that you can save $5,000. We can talk about strip curtains, but strip curtains is a fantastic savings that doesn't cost a lot, water upon request. Vegan and vegetarian menu items, we didn't talk about that because it doesn't save money. But what it does do is the percentage of Americans that are either vegan or vegetarian or flexitarian or have heart issues or are simply trying to reduce their meat, not as an overall lifestyle. They might eat a lot of meat, but people are more health conscious, so they might have gotten their meat for the week and it's Friday, and now they're going to have maybe a pasta dish or a vegetarian dish or a vegan dish. So they're very far from being vegan or vegetarian. It's just not what they want right now. So adding this allows that corporate party of 20 to go to your restaurant. Because I could tell you, if there's one or two vegans, or they're not necessarily vegans, but again, they're for whatever health reasons, they can't have that steak today or that burger. If you have one or two of those in a party of 20 and they're going out for a business meeting, they're not going to the restaurant that doesn't have that vegan option, because you don't want the director of marketing to not be able to eat for the meal. You want to find a nice steakhouse that has some nice options. So having some very good, significant options there doesn't save money, but it definitely adds to the bottom line and attracts a customer base. As I mentioned, recycling and composting are a big one. Post-consumer waste paper products, really easy. Paper towels, any of the tissues in the restrooms, napkins. You could find different variations of quality that have some or a lot of post-consumer waste, and it's an easy step. Composting, as I mentioned, and bulk condiments. Bulk condiments versus individual definitely are easy steps. So these are some very easy ones. But as I mentioned, there's probably 400 that a restaurant could do. Instead of our restaurants looking through the 400, we really direct them on to what we suggest to do first.
Great. Well, this is good information to have. And Stephen, I see your comments in the chat. Thank you for sharing that. We'll be sure to follow up with you once the presentation is over with. So I think we've talked a lot about simplicity, and that is a priority for these restaurateurs, and how easy is it? So heading to the next question, Michael, how do you make it easy for restaurants to make these changes?
Excellent. So I touched on some of that, but I'm going to try to spend about a minute now going over what is our recipe. Our recipe is we want to find out what the restaurant's doing on day one. We don't want to tell you to do all the great bulbs if you've done them already. So the first step we do is we do an audit of your restaurant. And we do that in a few different ways, one through a video call or an in-person meeting, depending. And we find out, how water efficient is your toilet? How water efficient are your sinks? Are you recycling? What kind of bulbs do you have? We do all that. And believe it or not, it takes about an hour. We're able to gather all that information. You also send over your purchasing records from your Cisco, et cetera. And we have a non-disclosure agreement. As I mentioned, we work with multi-billion-dollar clients. And so we have very strong protection. We're not going to tell anybody where you get your fish from. We're not going to tell anybody of any branding, anything private. But we might say your fish meets this environmental standard. And everything that we communicate is with the approval of the restaurant. So we get all of the data. Now we know your baseline. So we know your A. When you're in a GPS, you can't get anywhere unless a satellite knows where you are. So step number one is, where are you right now before you plug in the address to where you want to go? Where do we want to go? We want to meet the Certified Green Restaurant standards. So you need an A, the standards are the B. How do we get there? How we get there is, once we know where you are, we're then going to present you the solutions. So we're going to say, Cindy, do you know that you've already made 20 environmental steps? And Cindy might say, absolutely. We worked very purposely on that. Or she might say, no, I thought we made like 5 or 6. What are the 20? And we'll lay them out. And she'll go, oh, wow, I accidentally bought that good spray valve. That's fantastic. We're going to lay out the 20 good things that they've already done. I'm just throwing out a number. Yeah. Then we're going to find where the room for improvement is. And then we're going to present to Cindy and say, hey, these are the steps that we recommend. And this is why. Here's the investment. Here's what's going to save, blah, blah, blah. And then once we get Cindy's buy-in, and we generally do, because again, we know how to recommend the things that are going to appeal to the bottom line, then we work with their vendors and we identify the steps that meet the certification. And by now, Cindy's got the buy-in on those. Once Cindy has now implemented that new napkin and that new spray valve, and we got a good recycling program in there, and we made some nice signage, now we're going back in and we're getting verification that not just those original 20 steps are made, but those new 7 steps are made. And once those are verified, and that the way we verify it is, again, either in person or a video call or a photo or a receipt or a purchasing record, something empirical, then the restaurant becomes a certified green restaurant. And there is a lot of marketing. In Texas, we created, with our partnership with the TRA, dinegreentexas.com, which is now a B2B website. And you guys can look at it, dinegreentexas.com. But as we get closer to the big soccer event this summer, we're going to turn it to a B2C website so that we can promote it with, our organization is on the organizing committee websites for the Houston and Dallas organizing committee of the big event this summer. And the reason we're being general is because we have to be very careful with the names in terms of trademarks, etc. So we're on both those websites. We have we've been in discussions with the cities. So as soon as we have a B2C, our plan is to promote that in a big way and make it easy for all the customers coming around the world, many of whom from Europe, from South America, and around the United States care about this issue. We want to make it really, really easy for them to go to these restaurants first and foremost. And so we'll talk in a moment of how we promote it. But in essence, on websites, decals, menus, even chef's coats, social media, press releases. We've been in the media over 1,000 times from CNN, Fox News, etc. So that's the process. It starts with the baseline. Where are you? Then it starts with identifying the steps that we're going to help you make. We work with the vendors. We help you make the new changes. We verify them. And then once you make those steps, you become a certified green restaurant, and then we promote it.
Great. Thank you, Michael. And for those still with us today, that was one of the questions that was dropped in the chat. So Michael did answer that live. So thank you. As we go on to the next question, we have talked a little bit about employees and how being a certified green restaurant can help recruit and retain employees. So let's dive a little bit deeper, Michael. What do employees think about this program?
Sure. So I'll get to the customers in a second. Let's go to the employees there. Across a lot of surveys, and this one's a Technomic survey. Many of you know Technomic. 78% of employees report that they'd be more excited to be working at a business that becomes a certified green restaurant. And this is not just restaurants. It's really actually across businesses. It's a big thing, believe it or not. It's one of the top 4 reasons that students choose universities. It is a big determinant for young people. And a lot of the people that work in restaurants are on the younger side. So that's a big majority there. This is an actual restaurant of ours. It's been on board for, I think, decades, at least probably 15 years. And he's been on a panel with me at, I think, the New York restaurant show, where he said 50% of my employees are working here because I'm a certified green restaurant. And I remember when he said that is when he became a certified restaurant, he got a different caliber of employee that was applying, because now it's not just I need a job, but it's I need a job and wow, I'm jazzed about these issues. And I want to work in a place that, I'm recycling at home a little bit. That's exciting to work in a place that's doing that also. I'm saving a little bit of energy at my home. I'd like to work in a place doing that. So if you can get an employee that is jazzed about that, there's a lot of data that shows they're going to stay longer, they're going to be more loyal. And this is a real restaurant. We've had others that really demonstrate that that loyalty really does come through.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Michael, Raphael is asking if we can share this presentation afterwards. Leave that up to you, my friend.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. So we just touched on employees. I think we want to hear how customers feel. So how do customers know if a restaurant is certified?
Yeah. So I would say that, this is also a similar statistic for the same Technomic survey. About 70% of consumers prefer dining at certified green restaurants. And again, could be some cities, we've seen the data. Some cities are 10% lower, some are 10% higher, but it is a majority. It is over 50%. And there's a lot of data over the past 10 years that corroborates that. So make it easy, make it non-political, then it's easier to track that business.
Yeah.
90% of global consumers view sustainability as an important part of their lives and a reflection of their personal values. And this is important because this is an international event coming up this summer. So this is a play for the locals in Austin, in Houston, in Dallas. The partnership that we have with the Texas Restaurant Association is not just for the next few months. It's an ongoing partnership that precedes and will also be after the soccer tournament this summer. But having said that, we do want to leverage this great opportunity. And there's a lot of people coming from around the world, and they care. Here is a caterer, a certified green caterer in DC. We have a lot of caterers in DC that are certified, and they said they closed over $100,000 of additional business in the past 3 months because of their certification, which is, that's their quote. We didn't pay them to say that. And that's a lot of money for new business for doing what? Saving energy, saving water, things that are good for your business anyways. And we made it easy, not only for that place to make those changes, but then to have all these businesses doing big parties in DC to say, I want Windows Catering. I want a place that is doing things that not only is going to serve a fantastic event, but is going to do so in a way that is good. And you asked about, how do consumers know about it? There's the decal on the window. There is on the website. Here is a, CBS, I think, or ABC. One of our restaurants showed up. We've even been in a soap opera. We were on Days of Our Lives, where the fictitious restaurant on NBC became a certified green restaurant. So we really, really work with the restaurants to get the word out there, besides all the listing and the promotions that the TRA and the GRA will be doing, along with the cities and other organizations. So we put a lot of effort into letting people know which restaurants are certified.
Yeah. Michael, this has been great. There's a wealth of information here, and I'm excited about our partnership as we embark into what's to come this summer with the global soccer event. So I'll leave it up to you with some closing remarks before I wrap us up.
Yeah. Should we just wrap it up, or any questions that I'm happy to respond to questions via email for people after.
Yeah, so we got some folks who would like to be reached out to afterwards. Raphael, we got your information. Stephen as well. We'll certainly reach out to you. For those that are still with us, please feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Now's the time that we can address them. So,
okay. So yeah, I think what I would like to share is that our first step is we meet with the restaurant. There's no cost, no commitment. And we find that a large percent of the restaurants we meet with actually end up coming on board, making the changes, et cetera. So I encourage everybody, it's a low commitment, contact us. Ben has our information. Our website's dininggreen.com. Happy to have a very low pressure conversation, see if this is right for you. And if it is, excellent. And we've already had a bunch of restaurants. Blue Dorn has already come on board.
Yep.
Just in the first couple of weeks of January, we're at about 10%, Ben, I think, of our goal over the couple of months. So it's been going quite well, and you'll be in good company with some very esteemed restaurants. I encourage you to reach out.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And to his point, we have had a lot of great traction this year, and we look forward to the continued success between the two organizations for many years to come beyond the soccer event. So, without further ado, I will wrap us up. Michael, if you're okay with that. Just a reminder, this is recorded. It will be posted on our YouTube page. We'll send out some key takeaways, and there will be some follow-ups to those who have requested it. And we appreciate your time and interest in today's panel. Michael, thank you again for being the leader on this initiative, and we look forward to continue working with you.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.